Hey.
Go.
Okay, my name is Mike Uzina of Menorcan Magic. I'm here in the nation's oldest city, St. Augustine, Florida. And what I'd like to do in this video today, because I get a lot of requests from folks who would like to learn how to start a handmade net. So I thought that's what I would do today. Although I've got videos on the subject, but I thought I'd really show you the real beginning of it. And I've got this thing set up in stages because what I want to do is I want to work this thing from the first knot right through to the point where we start the widenings, and that's the important part of it, because without widenings and that you make a net, you're going to have nothing but a sock. But anyway, just a net is a continuous circle. A handmade net is a continuous circle, and that's what I want to demonstrate to you. Now, see what I've done. I double my line. You just want to take whatever line you want to use, because this is the line that's going to hold that horn onto that net. So it's very important that you put something. I use this is a 30-pound test Dacron. I like to use Dacron for that purpose, because the knot, it ties a really nice knot and it won't slip. It won't slip and slide. So that said, you can see that this is double, and I've just simply took the two pieces ends and I've tied it together. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to secure this to my doorknob, and I'm going to get, I call this a knitting needle. People call it a shuttle. Doesn't matter, it's one and the same thing. So what I'm going to do to start this, I'm going to start with one knot. I'm going to tie a few knots, and then I'm going to go on to stage two for the sake of time. So the way you start this thing, you can see what I've done. This is called a tail. You want a tail that hangs down, because that's what completes that circle each time. You're going to tie the tail to this, which I will be demonstrating. Now to start this thing, all I'm going to simply do, I'm going to come up here, I'm going to just tie a knot. All right, that's the first knot of this net right there. That is starting. I'm going to start with number one, and when a 7-foot net is finished, you're looking at probably 400 plus. Okay, and you want to double tie these. I tie one, and I'm coming here, and I'm going to double tie it. The first row, you want to double tie them, because you do not want those to slip. Now, for starting this thing, most likely, you're not going to have the luxury of having the handmade needles that my partner, Phil Castillo, and I'm a fellow net maker that's working with me on this thing. We make all of our own tools, but for this purpose, I want to just show you. You can buy these things. These Jan's Net Craft sells them. There's other people that sell them. You can buy these, off the internet, along with the plastic needles. So this is a 1-inch gauge. This is going to be a mullet net, and that's what we fish for down here on the East Coast and around northeast Florida is mullet. So what I'm going to do, you see I've already tied this knot. I'm going to slide my gauge right up to it, right up tight to that tail. Then I'm going to come in here and I'm going to come in between. Make sure you stay in between both of them. And I'm going to pull this down. I'm going to pull this down. Can you see that good, Phil? I'm going to pull this down like that, even. And I'm going to throw us just a simple knot. This is the knot that's been around for thousands of years here. This is the old knot. I'm going to show you both knots as we go along. And I'm going to double tie this. I'm going to double tie it. All right. That is the first mesh. That's the first mesh. Then I'm going to come up here, and I'm going to in between again. And I'm going to come down.
Go slower.
All right. As you can see, mesh number two, and I'm going to come in between it. Now there's two ways of doing this knot. There's two ways of doing it. The first one I just take and tie a double knot. You have to, as you see. The other way of doing this is you can come in here like this, in between. Make sure you stay in between. You bring this down. All right. Keep your little gap there where you can see. You throw your mesh like this. One time, come through it, and you come through it a second time. come through the second time, that ties a double knot also, all in one motion. Either way you want to do it. All right, I'm just going to tie a couple more because I want to show you something else before we move to the next stage, which will be the completion of the first row. As you can see, I'm going to come in here. All right, one more. You see what I'm doing. You want to keep these the same distance. That's important, to keep these the same distance. I'm going to show you how to check that one more time. Here's the double knot. This ties the double knot. Well, you got to pull these tight. It's important. If you don't want slip knots, you have to pull them tight. Now, what's important, you don't want to fill this gauge up with meshes. Maybe tie 4, 5, or 6. Now I'm going to pull them off of here where you can see what you've got. Now, as I mentioned about keeping these the same, you want these to stay the same length. In other words, you want the first and the last. Can you see that good, Phil?
I'm gonna zoom in. Hold steady.
Yeah, you see? Can you see what I'm doing? See how those knots are even? That's what you want to see. Here's number 1, and we're going to go on in a minute and tie the 42nd one, which completes the first row and the start of the circle. So here we are. You saw what I did. I took them off. I come in here like this, and you want to periodically do this. Every time that you tie 4, 5, or 6, now I'm going to show you what you do. If you get off, for instance, if they're not even, and if they're too, if it's too short, then what you want, then you'll want to bring your gauge back this way. And when you pick this mesh up, you'll want to come down like this. See what I'm doing? I'm stretching that thing, making it bigger. If it was the other way, if it was too long, then you're going to come in here like this, tilt it the other way.
Right, do it again, but rotate your hand to the left.
Yeah.
It's like, there you go. Keep it like that so they can see it.
Okay. See what I did? If necessary, and you probably will, because I have to. All right, I'm going to put this down now. Again, for this. Now, we're going to move on to the next stage of what I want to show you on the trail of starting your net. And you leave it to beaver, I would get it all tangled up. Look at that. Phil, did you do that?
Not me.
Okay. All right. Now, this is the second part of it. As you can see, that I have, just assuming I continued on that, what I have here is probably, and Phil, look at this. See where I'm at? See how I've kept this thing straight all the way?
Let me zoom in.
Yeah, let me get this where they can see. Can you see that, Phil?
Coming in. Hold on.
See how I've got those nice and even there?
Yep.
Now, and what you want to do, and what's vitally important to you, is I like a net. Some of these people are making nets with less meshes to start. That means you're going to have less webbing. You're going to have a less full net. I start with 42 in the top instead of some of them are putting in the 30s. But anyway, now to be sure where I'm at and be absolutely sure that you don't put not enough or too many, you're going to count it. Let's see what I've got here. So I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, 39. Now, I've got to tie 2 more. To get 42, you're going to tie 41, and then when I complete this circle, my first circle, I'm going to tie the mesh together. Now I'll move on to my next gauge. I'm using different gauges here. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to continue, assume we're still on that first net. Assume we're on that first net. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to tie, what did I have, 39, Phil?
39.
39. I'm going to tie 2 more, 39, 40, and 41. I'm going to come down here like this. notice that this is a handmade needle that Phil and I make these things all the time. This is made out of black ebony, very beautiful. You want to make needles out of hardwood. All right, that was 40. Now we're going to tie 41.
Double knot.
Double knot. That last knot, just like the first one, was double knot. All right, there's 41. I'm not going to recount that because I'm confident that there is indeed 41. The reason I'm so adamant about make sure you get the right amount of meshes here is because it'll affect the whole net. Because when you put your widenings in it, you start out, they're going to be 3 apart. If you've got one less or one too many, then it stays with you the whole net. Okay, now, here we go. The last final check.
Hold it steady.
Can you see it?
Yep.
See how pretty? Those are even. That's what you want to see right there. Now what you want to see is I'm going to complete the circle. Now, there are people who take, when they get to this point, they simply just turn this thing over and knit back the other way. Back and two, back and two, back and two. The thing is wide open all the way to the end. Then they come in and sew it together. That creates a seam. Yes, I don't care to see a seam. This is the way I do it. I feel confident this is the best way to do it, or I wouldn't be telling you. Now, I'm going to take the two ends, the tail, which is hanging down, and the line on the needle, and I'm going to throw a circle. See what I'm doing? It's just going to be a knot. I'm going to come around like this. You see that good, Phil? Then I'm going to catch the tail, pull it through. Can you see what we're going to have?
I'm going to zoom in.
Can you see that, Phil, what we're going to have? See what I'm doing? We're going to have a knot. Now, here comes the important thing. You must keep these things straight. You want this thing to be the same length. In order to do that, I don't need to do it, but I'm going to show you for your sake, because you're going to need to. And that is, you make sure you want to get your gauge and make sure that you're bringing this thing where you're going to tie it. You want these knots, and I'll show you real good here in a minute. Because you have to adjust this a little bit. Don't tie it real tight. Because now I can move, I can pull this thing or stretch it either way. Because it's hard to get it perfect the first time. I'm going to stick my gauge in here. And you see I got to pull this back a little bit. Can you see that, Phil?
Yeah.
I got to pull it just a little teeny bit, a little bit. Now, observe, I want that knot right on the leading edge of this mesh board.
All right, hold it steady.
Can you see that?
Hold it steady.
Can you see that? See where that mesh is? You want it right on the leading edge of that mesh board. All right, now that I've got this thing tight, I'm going to just snug it a little bit. Double check myself. I'm ready to go. Okay, that is the completion of the first row. There's 42 loops around this, and with that said, I think we're going to move on for the sake of time because I'm eating up the time here. I want to move on to a net that I have went ahead of time, and you want to put 7 plain rows. It's ideal before you start your widenings. Now, a widening is an expander. I had a lady tell me one time, I was demonstrating stuff somewhere for a bunch of ladies that knitted and crocheted and stuff. And the lady, when I was demonstrating the widening, the lady said, "That's an expander." I said, "Very well put. That's exactly what it is. Without it, that expands that net. It's like making a doily. Ladies that make these little doilies that are round, they put widenings in it. In other words, they wouldn't have a round, wouldn't have a circle. No, I tie this line on here to keep it from slipping and sliding on the needle. Now, okay, this is the 7th row. Notice there's no widenings in it yet, but that's what it should look like.
All right, let me zoom in.
See how pretty that is? We'll open that up. See how pretty that net's starting to look?
Okay.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna continue on. What I've done, I've left a couple of meshes more to go here to complete this row. Then we're going to tie it in. I want to show that tie in again because that is so important. Now, I always, when I start a new row after I empty the mesh board, I like to put 2 meshes on there. That keeps it nice and snug. Now I'm to the point. I'm going to show you the 2 different knots. We were doing the old knot. This is the old knot, the old Spanish knot. It's been around for literally thousands of years. It's simple. You pick up that mesh.
Slow.
You bring it down to the top of that board. See how I'm pulling it nice and tight? And I'm going to throw my circle. Throw a loop. Not a circle, it's a loop. Then I'm going to come in between. Can you see that, Phil?
Let me zoom in.
See where that needle's coming right in between those 2? That's important that you get it between the 2 you want. Now I'm going to reach up here like this and I'm going to snap tie. See, I tied that knot. I don't like this knot because what happens with it, it has a tendency to slip. As long as you tie it up on top of the loop, you're okay. I'm going to do one more. Come in, I'm going to pick up that mesh. I'm going to bring it right down to the top of that board and hold it super tight. Pinch it with your fingers.
Hold on.
You want to zoom that, Phil, where you can see how I'm holding that? See, I'm pinching it with my thumb and that end finger. I don't know what you call the end finger. But I'm going to pull it nice and tight. I'm going to hold it. I'm going to throw my loop. Come very gently back. I'm going to come in between here. Now I'm going to show you like we did early on. I'm going to do this a double tie. This ties a much better knot than the first one. This one won't slip. If you do it right, it won't slip. All right, that is completed. All right, well, it's completed row number 7. Now I'm going to take this thing and I'm going to tie it in. See how I take it? I'm going to do that again. Can you see this, Phil? Where they can see it? I'm throwing my loop. I'm going to come in with the needle through the needle. I mean through that opening. Grab my tail. And here we go. See what we've got here? See how that slides up and down easily? That's a knot. But don't, for goodness sake, don't tie it down there. I'm going to slide, come on up here to where it goes. And I want to take my gauge. And you want to be concerned with the knot on your left that's coming from the tail. You want to make sure that's the one that's even to the leading edge of this board. All right, and then I'm going to tie a knot. By the way, I start these with bonded nylon, number 6 bonded nylon. I like to start the net with, because this is where your hand's going to be. When you're fishing with this thing, you're going to grab that top up where the horn's at. So that's why you use a heavier line up at the top. Sorry, I forget. I should have mentioned that early on, but better late than never. But yeah, this is number 6. Then I'll come down a foot or so, and I'll drop to a number 5, and I'll go down about 2 feet, 2 or 3 feet, depending on how long I want to make the net. Then I'll drop down to 4, and go down a couple. And my last foot, I'll go back to about 8 rows of number 5, and then the last 4 rows of number 6, and a double row. A double row is simply this right here. That's double. You double your line, and you're going to put a row on the bottom with that being double. All right, now let me double check this. What I've got to do, I've got to snug that a little bit. You have to work it just a little bit. Sometimes you'll get it perfect, sometimes you won't. Most of the time you won't. All right, that is the completion of row number 7. And now we are ready for widenings. I don't know what else to call them. They've been called that as long as I can remember. I've found some diagrams of showing the starting of a handmade net from 1761, and it clearly showed the knot that I'm going to demonstrate to you. It clearly showed it. I was surprised because I thought that what we call the English knot, us Menorcans call the English knot, was much later. By the way, that's ebony. That is what's called white ebony. Look at beautiful grains to it. I love making needles out of ebony, black ebony and white ebony. All right, I'm gonna get started. I'm gonna tie this first for myself. Then I'll demonstrate this. But I gotta bring one down to the board here where you can. Gotta watch this thing because it has a tendency to want to grab. You just have to work through that. I'm gonna pull this down. Get that first knot. All right, now. I already showed you the old knot. Now, the new knot, I've heard this called a flying Dutchman. I'm ready for my winding, so before I go too far, I'm going to tie just one. I'm going to tie just one knot. Then I'm going to come in here and put my first widening. Now, this is important. Phil, you got to be able to show them this. You see where that needle is? I'm in between that footless mesh I just tied and the next one that I'm going to tie. Come right in between them. Simple way to put it. I'm going to slide right in through there like this. And I'm going to bring this down, and you don't pull it down. You leave that, you just snug it. See how I'm holding that? Nice and snug.
Right.
Then I'm going to throw a loop, and you double tie your widenings. That's the only double tying you do the rest of the way.
Yeah. Let me see the finish.
Is I'm going to come
And
back.
I'll zoom in.
Okay, and I'm going to double tie. Nice and tight. All right.
Hold your
Now-
hand there. Hold your hand. Rotate a little.
Can you see it? I'll take it off and demonstrate it in a minute
Okay.
after we do 2 or 3.
So they can see that loop.
Yeah. Now, I put in a widening. I'm going to do 3 plain. 3 plain. Then another widenings. So here's number 1. Here's number 1. I'm going to do this with the old knot for the sake of making sure you understand this. I'm going to pull this thing down like this. Okay. Phil, you use this knot, don't you?
Yes.
Okay, that's number 1, and count. Number 1. Number 2. And number 3. Now I'm ready for another widening.
Okay, I'm going to pause a minute.
Tell me when.
Go.
All right, now, okay, I've tied 3 plain meshes, and Phil's got a little different angle here. Hopefully it can show it a little bit clearer for you. I'm going to put in widening number 2. You see this space here? I just tied a knot, right? That's the mesh I just tied. Here's the next one I'm going to tie. What I want to do, again, repeat myself, but I'm going to come in between those 2 with that needle. And I'm going to bring it down, hold it. As you can see, I'm going to grip that thing with my fingers and make sure I pinch down on it, keep that thing pretty and tight. That's what you want to see.
You got to hold your hand steady. Don't move it too much.
Okay, we're ready.
Yep.
I'm gonna throw my loop. I'm gonna come in here in between, double tie this. That's one way of doing it. A little quick snap tie, and I got it. Now, to demonstrate the new knot, or that's been called, you hear them call it the Flying Dutchman. This is a little more tricky. This takes some practice, but it's far superior knot. I'm gonna come around, make sure I got a little cord. I'm gonna come around that little finger. See how it came around that little finger? I'm gripping it on the bottom with this finger, holding it with my thumb. I'm gonna throw it simply you just throw the same circle. And what you're gonna do, you're gonna come on the back side of that loop. Very important that you don't go through this way. You want to go through the back side of that loop, go through it, you're going to come up here and pick up the next mesh. Now, this is going to tie a double knot. What I'm doing, I'm pulling this through here like this. Here's your one knot coming up here, and here's your second one down on the bottom. And when you feel tension, you start pulling, you feel tension on that little finger. That's when you let it go. And see how smooth it ties that pretty knot. It's a smaller knot, and it's there. All right, that's number one. Same thing, we're going to make that loop. We're going to come back. I hope I'm doing this slow enough for you. Come in through here. I came on the back side of that loop. I pick up that mesh. My mullet kitty, he stays close by. I'll pull it up nice and snug. When I feel that tension, I'll let it go, all one motion. It'll have a tendency to grab your little finger, but you have to, some of this stuff you just have to work out.
All right, I'm going to pause and go to the other side, okay? Go.
Okay, now we're going to try this at another angle. Hopefully we can get this a little more clear for you. I'm going to come around that little finger, keep it out near the end. I'm going to throw that loop. I'm going to come in on the back side. Keep this tight, by the way. You want to keep that thing tight. I'm going to come on the back side.
You hold it right there and you can zoom in.
See what I'm doing? I'm going to come through that loop. Come through that loop on the back side. I'm going to come through. And I'm going to pick up that mesh. And I'm going to pull it down. See how nice and tight I pull it up against that? I feel pressure pulling on that little finger, so I'm going to let it go.
Let me take a look.
Don't let it go too soon. Don't keep it taut until you feel that pressure. See, I'm moving that finger with it. I'm going to let it go. Tie the knot. All right, that was number 3. What comes after number 3? It's going to be a widening. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to come in here in between that mesh you just saw me tie. The next one I'm going to tie, I'm going to come in between them.
Freeze right there. Good. Go.
And come up through there. And pull this down. Keep it nice and snug. Make my loop. I'm going to show you the other way to do this, if you want to choose to do it this way. But it's got to be a double knot any way you go about it, whether you do it one behind the other or the two together. But anyway, that's the way it's done. Okay, now with that, I think you're pretty much ready. I'll do one more because we're running a lot of time here. I'll show you one more time. We'll come around that little finger. You see that? You get that good feel? See what I did? I've come around that little finger. I make my loop. I've come in here on the back side, through that loop, pick up my mash, coming through, pull it down up to it. I'm feeling pressure. I let it go. All right, that's number 1. Number 2. And number 3. What comes next? I just tied a mesh. Here's my next one. I'm going to come on the bottom side of the board. I'm going to come in between the two, as you can see. And this is the widening. All right. Come through. And we'll just go ahead and do a double. I think we pretty well got you started. I showed you how to, different stages right up to the point of the windings. Demonstrated both knots. A quick rewind. The old Spanish knot is simply you just pick up the mesh like this. You bring it down to your board. This is the easier one, but it's a tendency to slip on you. But I'm gonna double tie it. I don't like having any chance of it slipping. That's a demonstration of that knot. Then the Flying Dutchman, I simply call it the English knot. Menorcans, we have different terminology because my ancestors, I've been doing this stuff near about 70 years. That's 70. That's a long time I've been making nets. But anyway, that's the way it's been called ever since I can remember. Anyway, around the little pinky, throw in my loop, pick up that mesh, feel that snug against that finger, and tie. There we have it. If you have any questions, feel free to, you can find me all over the internet. Just be on YouTube, and I've got a website called menorcanmagic.com. That's menorcanmagic.com. One word, Menorcan Magic, one word. We have a website. I got some nice pictures on there of nets. If you're interested in buying a net, I can sure sell you a net out of nylon or Dacron. So, or if you have any questions, you'll find my email on that website. Feel free to email me or call me, 904-824-5354. Happy to help you in any way. So, with that said, I think you're ready to get started.